Hi everyone, it's Phil here from Ashland Leather, and I'm really excited to show you a brand new batch of private stock items. And everything we're about to look at is available on our website, ashlandleather.com, right now. And everything is also marbled black shell cordovan. And let me tell you about this really special finish that Horween does for the marbled shell cordovan. And marbled shell cordovan can come in a few different colors. All the wallets that we're going to look at today are marbled black shell cordovan. The way that they achieve it is they layer on several stain coats of the black stain, and the black dyes that they use are sort of like a greenish black. So what you see here in the color range is a little bit of a fade from a black to a green and down to the orange color. This orangey tan shade is the natural color of the shell cordovan, and then that gradient of color is all of the scraping away of those layers of finish very, very slowly, and you get these randomized unique looks. For that reason, every one of these items that we're going to look at today will all have their own unique product pages. Let's start off first looking at the Johnny the Foxes. This is our most popular wallet style. The first one here has a really great color range from a little bit more of a green on the right to some orangey tans in the center. All of the edges on all of these wallets are waxed and burnished, and then the inside of this wallet we have more of that marbled black shell cordovan, and it alternates in color. So we have a little bit of a lighter, more orangey tan shade on the bottom, and then the third card slot, and then the darker, a little bit more black and green in between each of those. And we will go through each of these one by one because they're all very, very different. This marbled black shell piece here is a little bit more subtle than some of the other ones we're about to look at, but you can see a little bits of lighter color on the top right, and it's got a little bits of orangey, sort of yellowy tans on the undertones. And here's a look at the inside, a little bit more subtle on this Johnny the Fox, especially on the left, and a little bit more of a dynamic and dramatic contrast on this bottom right piece. All right, here's the third Johnny the Fox, a little bit more green, a little bit darker on the right, and a little bit lighter and less contrasty on the left. Here's a look at the inside of this guy. Here's a look at another one that has a really cool sort of textured effect on this piece of marbled shell. A really interesting look here on both the right and the left. Here's a look at the inside card holders. And I really like the look of this guy with these sort of striations of color. A little bit of green, a little bit of darker green, a little bit more forest green in this section, down to those lighter orangey tan shades. That turns out great. Here's a look at the inside of this guy. A little bit more orangey on this piece of marbled black shell cordovan. Sometimes it gets a little bit lighter, a little bit more yellow. Now let's move into the fat Herbies. Check out this guy here. Really dramatic look of the marbled shell cordovan on a larger pattern piece like the fat Herbie here. And as I spin it around and sort of tilt it, you can really see all those different colors pop out. It's almost like a little bit of burgundy look on some of these sections, and then a little bit green and yellow and tan in other sections. Here's a look at the inside of this one, which is a little bit more subtle. And I notice on most of these Herbies, we try to cut the most dramatic piece into the exterior bill slot, a little bit more of a subtle look on the interior. Here's another fat Herbie. Check out this guy. A little bit of streaking going this direction this time. And as I tilt it, that color really pops out. And I'll try to spin around each of these so you can really see the range of color. And the reason we're seeing the color change on these is because the shell cordovan is very directional for the color. So depending on what angle you look at it, the color will become a little bit lighter and a little bit darker. The third fat Herbie here, pretty interesting look. And I really like this dramatic contrast, and especially the way that this one was cut, where we have this nice orangey tan piece right in the center on the spine, and it sort of fades off into the sides. So I'll spin this one around. You can see the full range of color, a little bit darker at this angle, and you can see more of those colors and textures popping out at this angle. Just look at the inside, more really cool marbled black shell cordovan. Of course, I'll spin it around for you also. Another fat Herbie, a little bit more orangey and tan on this guy. I'll try to give you the full range of color. Again, I'm really noticing that dramatic color shift on all these pieces of shell just as I spin them around. So I'm going to try to take my time and give you the full representation here. And another fat Herbie, I really like the look of this guy. Check this out. And the reason I started doing videos originally on YouTube here was because I noticed it was so hard to capture the color of all these leathers on still photos. So sometimes just bouncing it off the light like I'm doing here gives you a better idea of how this one looks in person. And we'll keep it going here to another Herbie. Check this one out. Really cool, lighter one, a little bit more dramatic look on the right and a little bit more subtle on the left. Just look at the inside, a little bit of a green card holder on the right side and a little bit more of an orangey reddish tan on that left card holder. And the last fat Herbie to look at, check out this one. So many cool pieces of marble shell. The tannery's doing a really nice job of these marbled shell for their finishing process. I'm really enjoying how these are turning out. Check that out. This one might be my favorite of the Herbies. Here's a look at the inside. Really dramatic look. I tend to gravitate more towards these dramatic contrasts of color where you get the very light shade right next to a very dark shade sort of immediately. But it seems like most people like a little bit more of a subtle contrast. And speaking of dramatic contrast, check this one out. This is our Frank the Enforcer. And this one has a really cool range of color. It's sometimes hard to represent that range on a small pattern piece like the Frank the Enforcer, but we've done a nice job here. We have several more Frank the Enforcers to look at. A little bit of a darker green card slot on the bottom there with more an orangey tan in the center. And here's a look at the back of this Frank the Enforcer. And here's another Frank the Enforcer. This one's a little bit more of that tan range with a little bit less of the green. I'm also noticing the middle card slot has some of that reddish tone to it also. Here's a look at the back. Really incredible textured look on this card slot here. I don't really know why that happens, and I wish they could control that, because I would love a piece of leather that has this sort of figuring in it all over the place, and especially with the range of color. All these Franks are looking really nice, really great pieces of marbled shell on all of these. And again, it's really hard for us to be able to do that on a small pattern piece like the Frank the Enforcer. We'll keep it going here. A little bit of a green card slot on the bottom of this one that has that perfect, for me, green to orangey tan. I love the way those look right next to each other. Here's a look at the back of this guy. Two more Frank the Enforcers to look at. This one is a little bit more subtle. It seems like most people prefer this subtle look on the marbled shells, which is great. And again, for me, I'm a drama queen, I guess. I like a really dramatic contrast on all the marbled shells. Here's a look at the last one. It's almost got these like little bits of highlights underneath each of the card holders, which is a pretty sweet look. A little bit more of a darker forest green on this particular piece of marbled black shell Cordovan. And here's a look at the back, more of that marbled black shell. And this one is still mostly that green shade. And let's have a look at some Bugs Moran. This is more of a minimalist card holder. And when you fold it in half like this, it's about the size of a deck of cards. So we'll spin this one around and give you a good idea of the range of color here. A little bit darker at this angle and a little bit lighter at this angle. You can see a lot of that figuring and range of color in the marbled shell there. Just check out the inside of this one. A really cool dramatic contrast on the inside of this Bugs Moran. We'll keep going. Another Bugs here with a great piece of marbled black shell Cordovan. I love this look very, very much, even if it's closed like this. But sometimes when you get that big piece of contrast, it's extra special to me. I really like seeing that range. Here's a look at the inside. Really nice pieces of marbled shell on these Bugs Moran. And let's keep it going. Another Bugs Moran here. A little bit more of a subtle look on this one with less orange, a little bit more yellow for the undertones, but definitely a darker, a little bit more of like a forest green color. Here's a look at the inside. There's a really great contrast on these card holders, and I'll spin it around for you. Three more Bugs Morans to look at. Let's start with the outside first. Really cool. All of these are cool. Really great color range on the marbled shell Cordovan. And again, I still like seeing all those little bits of striations and all the range of color from the green to the tan to the orangey tan, everything in between. I think this look right here is what most people want, is that a little bit more of a subtle look on the marbled shell Cordovan. Here's a look at the inside. And spin this one around. A little bit darker on the right card holders. And the last Bugs Moran to look at. This one is also very, very subtle. A little bit more of a green look. And it does range from a lighter green to a little bit more of a forest green. Here's a look at the inside. We've got some of these striations going on here. Two more wallet styles to look at. These are the Tony the Ant wallets. And these are the little brother to the Fat Herbie, where we have that same exterior bill slot as the Fat Herbie, but it's in a little bit of a smaller form factor. So you'll notice this is slightly wider than the Bugs Moran. We did that to more easily accommodate cash in the bill slot on the outside of this guy. So here's a look at the inside of this one with the black marbled shell Cordovan. A couple more Tonys to look at. This one's got some great color, a little bit more orange on this guy. And I'll spin it around to give the range of color. And here's a look at the inside, a little bit darker of a green on this piece of marbled black shell Cordovan. Here's another one. I'm noticing this has a little bit of burgundy on the exterior right. It's a little bit more orange and less green on the exterior. And then we've got a full darker green on the inside. And as I spin it, you'll notice there is a little bit of a range of color on the interior here. And I really like the look of this guy. Check out this Tony. Pretty cool orangey tan with those little bits of flecks of green inside of that shell. Just look at the interior of this. A little bit of a darker, more forest green with one little section on the right some of those a little bit more yellowy tans. And the last, Tony the Ant. Check this out. Very dark on the right, but you do see a little bit of the orange in the center that hints off to that left side where we have a really dramatic sort of line here in the marbling. I like that very, very much, but again, I think I'm a minority opinion there. Here's a look at the interior. Specifically in the interior middle piece here, you have these almost psychedelic shell Cordovan looks with those little bubble marks almost, where it's like the dye didn't hit completely. It's almost like there was something circular underneath it. And last up, we've got our Capone money clips. These are a little bit more of a minimalist style. I wore mine in my back pocket when I was wearing this guy, but a lot of people like this design for a front pocket wallet. This one here, really dramatic contrast. A lot of orangey tan, especially on the exterior, but you do see some of these more forest green colors. You just look at the inside. Again, this is the look I think most people want, with that little bit more of a subtle marbling. Another Capone here, really great look on all these marble shells. I keep saying that. Very dramatic on the right, but very much less dramatic on the left. More subtle and more of a, almost like a natural shell Cordovan on the exterior left. Here's a look at the inside. It's almost got some blue coloring to it, which is very, very interesting. I'll try to spin this one around. 3 more wallets to look at. A lot of marbled shell to talk about, and it's kind of, I know I'm getting a little redundant saying the same things over and over, just trying to describe what I'm seeing here. So this one has that more subtle look and linear striations of the color, and I call it a texture, but it's more of like a color texture because everything is very, very flat and smooth. So as I tilt this down, you can see there's no texture to it at all. It's very flat and smooth, but all that sort of textured look is from all the layers of stain that Cordovan has slowly scraped away. Here's a look at another one. I really like the look of this guy also, and I'll try to tilt this one around. I'm noticing it's a little more difficult to spin the Capones around. Here's a look at the inside of this. A little bit more of a subtle Capone here. And last but not least, very beautiful pieces of marbled shell in the batch today. More orange and tan on the right. A little bit more of a dramatic look on the left. And here's a look at the inside of this guy. I really like the look of this one also. Many great things here. Hopefully you're able to pick one up. And if you'd like to grab one, everything is available on our website, ashlandleather.com. I'm going to spin it back to my my favorite wallet style, the Fat Herbie. And the reason I like this guy is because I wear my wallet in my back pocket. And I noticed that this wallet, especially when loaded up, just lays flatter in my back pocket, and that's because we're spreading out your credit cards over more surface area. We're not stacking them on top of each other, so it just lays flatter in your pocket. The other thing I really love about it is just how easy it is to get cash inside and out of the bill slot in the Fat Herbie. I love this wallet design. I just won't shut up about it. So hope you guys enjoyed the video today. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. Until next time, I hope you have a good one.